doing well.
Yeah.
Hi, Commissioner. Hi, how you doing? I don't think we've met before.
I was going to say, I'd give a hi to the new Commissioner High.
Yeah, you're muted there. Well, congratulations for going through all of the training
Good to
earlier
meet
this
you all.
week.
Thank you.
Nice
Yeah,
to meet
yeah,
you too.
yeah. I understand you went through the training, or was it earlier this week?
Yes, on Monday.
A good day for training. So I'm sure the staff took care of you.
There's a lot of material.
It is.
Drinking out of a fire hose.
I
Yeah.
know. And I'm not done yet. I think I have the other half on the 5th.
Oh, they split it in two?
The other half of the fire hose is on August 5th, right?
Wow. Wow. They're easy on the new ones.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I would prefer this.
Yeah, okay. Sounds
That's
good.
exactly what it's like. Too much information, just overload all in one day. So we thought we'd start with just the essentials that you need to get through a meeting, and then we'll expand a little bit from there.
But she's coming at the worst time possible, where we're going through the LAR and starting to reset, sunset, and all this, appropriations. I mean, some of us came in where it was very smooth transition,
I've got a little bit of a preview. They went over it with me on Monday.
Cool.
Perfect.
Excellent. Excellent. Sounds good. So how are we doing? Who are we waiting on? Because who are we waiting on? Is the chairman joining us? Who's running this meeting? Where's Kaiser?
Should be the chairman, I would think.
Kaiser? Where?
Commissioner Butler's going to be running this meeting.
Okay. Is he on site?
I believe he's on site
Okay.
in the meeting room.
Okay, got it. Let's get going. Let's get going. And were there any changes from last night or whenever we were together?
Not to my knowledge, but Hemet is the leader of that charge, so he can tell you that.
Okay.
when
Okay.
he presents.
Okay, got it. And I guess while we're waiting, Dr. Callis, I know that we were supposed to have gotten together, I don't know, May, June timeframe on the midwives ruling. I think I totally missed something. Your
You
date.
didn't miss anything. Is that whenever I had certain dates, and then I wanted to make sure that mine and your we conflicted. I didn't want to do it without you, so I ended up getting very, very busy because of the Uvalde shooting. Since being chairman of the board of all of Texas Medicine, so I've been dealing with that, but I will definitely, I promise you, Commissioner Collier, I will look at my calendar. I am out next week for a TMLT board meeting. Then after that, I'll give you some dates, and me and you can talk. I'll just call you and we can set up a date, and then we'll just give them a couple dates, and then we'll take care of it with that.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. Hey Kaiser, if you can get an idea what the timeline associated with the rulings, because I don't have a good sense of that, when those rulings need to, if we need to be voting on that as commission this year. I don't know.
Are we on? Okay.
Commissioner,
y'all ready? Is everybody ready to be having this discussion? Okay. Call this meeting to order. Good morning, everybody. How are y'all doing today?
Hi.
Oh,
Morning.
good morning.
It's good to see you all. Thank you so much for being here with us.
So far back, or is it me?
Okay. All right, so we call this meeting to order. Thank you,
Chairman Butler.
I appreciate it. Yes, sir.
Can you see him?
Chairman Butler, I just want to take a point of personal privilege to welcome Commissioner High. She's a brand new commissioner, and I want to congratulate her. I don't know if it's a congratulations, but I appreciate her being a part of the commission. And I also want to continue to keep our Uvalde people in our prayers. And thank you, Chairman Butler.
That's a great point. Thank you so much. Commissioner Hyde, it is good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thank you for the welcome. I appreciate it. Glad to be here.
Welcome to your first meeting.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
So, generally, we like to start our meetings with a prayer and invocation. This is just volunteer if you'd like to participate with us. Dr. Wesson, would you be interested in saying the prayer for us, the opening prayer?
Sure, be happy to. Heavenly Father, in our hearts, we plan our course, but we pray that you establish our steps. I pray that we seek your advice today and let us not make decisions based upon what we know, but let us make decisions and act based upon your wisdom. Please guide us, Lord. We place this meeting in your hands. We place our hearts and our minds in your hands so that you may direct us. In Heavenly Father's name, amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Dr. Wesson. That was beautiful. Would Ms. Wright please call the roll?
Yes. Chairman Rick Figueroa, Dr. Ray Callis,
Present.
Dr. Gary Wesson,
Here.
Commissioner Callier,
Here.
Commissioner Castañeda, Commissioner Hyde,
Here.
Vice Chair Tom Butler.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you so much.
Chair?
Yes, sir.
I recommend, if it's okay, that we have a motion that accept the absences of the commissioners that are not present today.
That's a fantastic idea. Do we have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Callier, second. Go ahead. Thanks.
So we have a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any noes? Christine, will you please note that?
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. For those here in person, the audience must remain quiet because there are microphones in the ceiling that are very sensitive and can pick up a whisper. So no whispering about how good or bad I'm doing this meeting. Make sure to the commissioners online, please make sure that your camera and microphone are on the entire time. Mute your microphone when you're not speaking, please, and raise your hand if you'd like to be recognized to speak, or turn your microphone on. And please say your name before you speak. This time we'd like to open it up for public comments. We're accepting public comments in writing, in person, and by video conference call for those who submitted a request in advance to speak to the commission. Do we have any requests for public comment?
No, sir.
No. Okay, none at all. Okay. So I think we should go on to the legislative appropriations request. Mike, if you'd like, you or him would like to let us know what's going on.
Vice Chairman Butler, Commissioners, thank you for allowing us to be able to come before you. As you know, every couple of years, we have to submit a legislative appropriations request to the legislature, the LVB Governor's Office, the kind of everything we got to go through. This year is no different. So what we have done and tasked Hemet with, who's the Chief of Staff, and he'll do a presentation along with Tony Kubion and Brandy Corrales that you can see. I can tell you that they've worked tirelessly for about 3 weeks already. For those, just kind of as an update, we received the instructions for the LAR on July the 1st, which is a Friday, right before the July 4th weekend. So if somebody has a warped sense of humor to provide it right before the weekend, because it totally blew the July 4th weekend for these three sitting up there, as they begin to start diving into the LAR request. What you're going to see before you is a lot of hours putting it together and providing this information to the commission. You're going to see some things that may stand out a little bit, but we do want to be able to be here as a resource to be able to answer those questions and things that you see. We had a great meeting yesterday with our LAR Commission Work Group from the commissioners, which includes, of course, Commissioner Callier, Commissioner Callis, and Commissioner Wesson. And so we met with them yesterday, presented to them this LAR request. And so they're very familiar with it. They had some very detailed, great questions about it. I think it will get us to where we continue to function as an agency. One of the big ticket items that you see will be the licensing system, which we've been in communication with you for about probably 6 months now at least. And so you'll see that come across as well. But what I want to do, if you're perfectly fine with the Vice Chair, I'm going to turn it over to Hemet Macon, our Chief of Staff, and allow him to be able to kind of go through the budget and the LAR request. And then, of course, I'm sure Tony Kuvion and Brandy Corrales will be providing and chiming in also. So if you're perfectly fine with it, any questions for me?
Are there any questions for Mike? From the commission?
None on my end.
That must mean you're doing a good job, Mike.
Either that or they didn't understand anything I said.
They want to talk to you.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll go ahead and just turn it over to him.
All right, Commissioner Butler, good morning. My name is Hemant Bacon, Chief of Staff. Pleasure to be here today, Commissioners. Thank you. We met with the LAR work group yesterday. We discussed extensively our requests for the upcoming biennium. And again, with me is Tony Kuvion, our Budget Policy and Research Analyst, and Randy Corrales, our Chief Financial Officer. They have done a tremendous amount of work on this LAR. Behind me are Jeff Kopas and Julie Davis, both government relations officers, who've done an incredible amount of work to stitch this together to bring it before the commission today. We have essentially two parts in our presentation today. We have the words and we have the numbers. We'll begin with the numbers, which will be Brandy's presentation, a one-page summary of our budget. And then we'll get into the words, which is our administrator statement, tells the story of the agency. It gives a narrative justification for each of the 7 exceptional items. And there's a few resources in the email that came out yesterday as part of today's meeting packet. As Mike pointed out, the instructions dropped on July 1st, Friday at noon, a day of infamy for us. But honestly, the work in our on our LAR actually began with the work in our strategic plan, which we started at the end of February. Our GR group was tasked with putting together the administrator's statement. It's really the voice that we start with to decide what are we going to ask for, who are we, and they put that together, and then our budget folks applied the numbers, broke that out, and we had a whole supporting cast of division directors, everybody in the exec office, human resources, general counsel, everybody came together in a very short amount of time in an incredible fashion to bring this request before you for your vote today. So in your portal and also in the email yesterday, there were 9 attachments. I'll just call your attention to attachment number 3, which is the one that's named We've Grown. To put our budget request in a perspective for you, we want to look at a bookended 17-year period. That is from 2004 to 2002, fiscal years, so 17, 18 years. The reason we went back to 2004 is that was our last sunset review up until this last cycle of the 87 session. So to put it plainly, back in 2004, we were at 20 programs. We had a staffing cap of 149 employees. Doesn't necessarily mean we were hired up to that amount. And we had a $14.7 million biennial budget. Fast forward to 2022 from the last session, we have 38 programs. We have a cap of 564.2 employees, and we have a biennial budget of close to $87 million. That is tremendous. In between these two bookends are a lot of work, a lot of pressure and program consolidation that agency staff have brought in. Staff has spoken to that in our strategic plan. So what we're doing with this LAR is picking up right where we left off with the strategic plan. And we want to honor the commission, the department, our staff, and the public with these requests, which would be to enhance public service. Okay. That being said, we can move on to attachment number 4. It's the one titled one-page financial summary. And I will give that to Brandy to make a presentation on that. But before we do that, Commissioner Collier, the attachments that you have before you have no substantive changes from yesterday. We did attend to some of the typographical errors that we made, and those will be ready in time for Friday's submission.
Okay, super. Thank you for that.
All right, Brady.
Good morning, Brandy Corrales, Chief Financial Officer. In front of you, you have a budget summary that shows our fiscal year 22 and 23 budget, comparing it to our fiscal year 24 and 25 budget, which will be part of the LAR request. So 22 and 23 and 24 and 25 are basically the same as far as the baseline budget is concerned. At the top section, you'll see the base request. Overall, we're looking at a base request of 88.7 million for the biennium. As you move down into the middle of the page, you'll see our exceptional items. Those are in just descending order, and the details that go with that are in the administrator statement to give all of that information. But we're looking at a biennial total in exceptional items of 53.7 million in our request. And so coming down, when we add that into what our base will be, we're looking at a total biennial request of 142.4 million. We're looking to add in our exceptional items 17 FTEs to our existing FTE cap, which will bring us up to 581.2 FTEs. That is the 30,000 foot overview. And if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer those.
Commissioner Butler, I would let you just make note for the record, Commissioner Castaneda has joined the meeting.
Oh.
So she's now present with us as well.
Hello,
So-
Commissioner Castaneda, are you there?
See her in the bottom right corner of our screen, but I don't know if she can hear us.
I'd like her to turn her, hey, Commissioner Castaneda, can you hear us?
I can hear you. I'm just trying to put me on the screen.
Sure thing, sure thing. We'll wait for you just a second.
Well, no, don't wait because I don't know what I'm doing. So,
Well, and we
can
want
hear
her visible.
Yeah, that's
to
why.
see, So,
Yeah.
yeah, if we can figure out the video button, that'd be great, Commissioner Castaneda. You do have to be visible on the screen.
I
for
do.
the, oh, yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Christine,
Okay.
did you make note that she did?
Yes, sir, I did.
Thank you.
What button do I press down at the bottom? There's
Should be
share.
just the camera button.
Okay.
On my screen, Commissioner, it is said start video.
Oh,
Start
start
video.
video.
Okay. Will that do? Got it. Thanks. Am I on?
Not yet, Nora.
Start my video. How about there?
There you are.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right.
It's good to see you.
Hello. Hi.
Great. Okay,
My apologies.
no, I
Sorry,
appreciate
guys.
it. It takes everybody rowing the boat to make it work. Thank you so much. Emmett, where were we? Brandy had just finished up. You threw her under the bus really quickly.
I did this.
So where were we?
It's a big bus and it's
It's a big
very fast. Yes, sir. So, Brandy, thank you. You have the itemization of the 7 items. You have your total amount that we are requesting. If you do notice for fiscal year 2024, that is $43.7 million. It goes down to 10 million in fiscal year 2025. So the significant portion of that is the money we are requesting for the licensing system.
Sure.
We have met with DIR. You've been informed of that activity. We are still awaiting a few more meetings with them and with the Joint Oversight Committee on IT Modernization. So what we do expect after today is for the LAR to be updated, for revision to be submitted. That's perfectly fine. It's completely par for course. After the commission's approval of the LAR and our submission on Friday by midnight, there'll be a joint budget hearing with the staff of the LDB, the governor's office, the staff of the 2 budget committees, the lieutenant governor, and any elected official or committee who might want to send their staff. So what we are doing today with this LAR is merely the beginning. And it's going to start a conversation, and that conversation will carry us all the way into next session. And we will not stop on this conversation. So this is what we'll be working with.
Fantastic.
Okay, so if I could call your attention to attachment number 5. It's named LAR Administrator Statement, Working Draft for Commission. I won't spend too much time on the first 4 pages. Obviously, they identify who we are, who the commission is. All members are broken out by term dates and by hometowns. But if you fast forward to page 5, we talk about exceptional items here. And so I'll go through briefly with a description of each item. I'm going to call on Mike, Christina, and David. They can give you more information on each one. And again, the dollar amounts reflected in the statement are the same as Brandy presented. So exceptional item 1 is to acquire a modern and comprehensive licensing system. We've been on this process for at least 2 sessions now. It's been a significant challenge, as you know, and as you can imagine. We've met with DIR, and in order to build a unified system that could be a statewide system as well, not just proprietary to TDLR, but be modern enough to where applicants can conduct most of their business using a tablet or a smartphone. It would have all the cyber security features built in. It would have the ability to be nimble and be responsive to any changing in the regulatory climate like we experienced with COVID. Before COVID, people were accustomed to paper. After COVID, people are needing more technological solutions. So this item has been put in at $32.9 million for the first year. And the reason it's in the first year is that we're allowed to move money from one year to the next year in the same biennium. So we would load that in the first year, and we would see how this process unfolds and have 2 years to work with this amount of funding. Obviously, you understand, this request increases efficiency for our licensing processes, for the public especially. It reduces overhead. It helps us respond to some of our regulatory efforts like human trafficking. And we will be working with this in collaboration with DIR. And that is my overview of this item. I will punt to Christina if she has anything else to add about this, and then we're happy to answer any questions.
Ms. Kaiser.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I'm Christina Kaiser, Senior Deputy Executive Director. A couple of thoughts I would share. We're sort of in a holding pattern at this moment, not really sure of which path we might be taking to secure this funding. As you have all been briefed about in the past, we have this opportunity that DIR brought to our door of possibly being able to access some of the ARPA funds that came from the federal government. And so that's still a question mark right now. There is a joint committee that has to meet to make decisions about all of the projects that have been submitted for possible use of the ARPA funds. They have to decide which ones are going to go forward with DIR. Our knowledge at this point is that that meeting might happen in August. So we presented this amount in the LAR as kind of, the big shot right up front, because we want to be really transparent. This is the amount of money it's going to take. We're not going to be able to spend this money in 1 year or 2 years, but we wanted to start with being very transparent and saying, hey, this is going to be an expensive endeavor. This is quite a bit different from the dollar amounts you saw the last couple of sessions when we were attempting to purchase a licensing system, sort of a custom solution, and that didn't go so well. So we're definitely not casting ourselves as the low-cost option here, but I think it's important that we not do that. The other thing I'll mention in terms of what's different, we're taking a little bit of a different approach in terms of what kind of product we want to acquire. In our last go-round with our contractor, Red River, we were seeking a custom-built solution that would continue to be maintained by our staff after it was built and stood up. We've learned through that experience that that's not really the best approach. And so what we're seeking for now is a software as a service type solution that is largely maintained by a contractor on an ongoing basis, or the vendor. and that is not custom built to our needs. We're big, we have a lot going on, but our needs from an IT perspective really are not unique. There, a lot of brilliant people in the IT world have already thought of a lot of this stuff, and it's out there. We just need to find it and apply it to our use. So those are a couple of the big things that make this different from the IT discussions we've had in the past sessions. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Thank you, Christina. I appreciate this. This is Commissioner Collier. In regards to possibly accessing the ARPA funds, and you say question mark, is it greater than 50% probability or less than a 50% probability?
I don't know the answer.
Okay.
I don't know if any of us do.
Okay, I'll take that as
Commissioner Calder, we have, this is Mike Smith, Executive Director. In the communication we've had with DIR, they believe this to be a viable project for a licensing system in Texas. However, it's still a decision made by the Joint Committee. And so there's still going to have to be presentations made. As you probably can understand, $200 million in ARPA money means that there's a lot of projects that have been submitted forward. And so they're going to have to kind of cull through and figure out which ones they feel to be, sufficient and adequate in order to be able to fund those projects. So we're just kind of in the mix in there also, seeing if we can get some of that money.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thanks, Mike. Realize it's a scrapping game going after that, so I appreciate that. My second question pertains to, with the SaaS being, maintained by a contractor, which is typical. A part of the discussion, was there any discussion with their flexibility where it could be maintained internally, some aspects, or it would be totally maintained by a contractor? Thank you.
Yeah, so we don't want to be in a situation where, every time we want to change the label on a field on a screen, we have to, pay the contractor some money to do that. I keep saying contractor, it would be the vendor. So part of what we are looking for, and this again is not a unique thing. This is a common trend in the industry now. We're looking for a product that will allow us to make a lot of those modifications that we need using our own staff, and to some extent not even our own IT staff, but our own staff that are in the business units. Like, there would be some power users in the licensing division, for example, who could make modifications to screens. Like an example would be if we acquire responsibility for a new program, which would not be a big surprise to happen, right? Hopefully the product would allow us to add the identity of a new program in the licensing system and build out the functionality that we need to issue licenses in that program. That's the hope.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for that update.
Any other questions for Christine? Emmett, would you like to continue?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Members, we are now on page 6 of the administrator's statement.
Forgive me, Emmett, just one more question for Christina. This is Commissioner Collier. What's the timeline again? Will they make a decision tied to the ARPA dollars? I mean, it goes into the next fiscal year. Is that correct? Or is it? Are they making it?
There is a deadline in the ARPA money by which it has to be obligated or committed to a particular use. I don't have that number at my fingertips. I want to say it's a couple of years from now. The timeline for making a decision, the most current information we have is that the Joint Committee, who will choose among all those project ideas, is going to meet at the end of August.
Okay. Any other questions?
None on my end, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Collier.
Sir, thank you. Again, members, we're on page 6 on exceptional item number 2, recruit and retain a qualified workforce. You know it. The economy is feeling some strain. The cost of living has gone up everywhere. We are based in Austin. It's even higher in Austin. So what we're trying to do with this item is to recover funding to get us to a base level of staffing operations, and then do two additional things, which is to make our salaries more competitive and more in relation to the cost of living in Austin, and then also to make our IT salaries even more competitive, because we have the risk, the greatest risk in losing them to the private sector.
Hey, can I ask
Yes,
a
sir.
question? Or Mike, do we have an idea of how much the cost of living has gone up in Austin specifically?
I think that we have that information located in our document. Is it at 21.9%? Is that correct?
We have in paragraph 2,
21%, sir, to be exact.
21%. So the cost of living in this area has gone up dramatically, while the pay and salaries for our employees has not gone up at all. And so it's making it very difficult to be able to bring in new team members into the agency, because we just can't compete with the private sector.
Sure.
And so we're hoping that this will at least be able to have some parity kind of across to be able to recruit and retain employees, because even though we can't even recruit them, we're having a tough time retaining them as well.
And Emmett, you were talking about IT staff in particular, right?
yes, sir. Austin's a magnet. It's the new Silicon Valley, right? We have Tesla, Samsung, they're expanding rapidly. We have to be able to keep our IT staff, especially in relation to exceptional item number 1. We need them. And so we have a request in this item to make sure that we can keep them competitive. We are at a cap of 564.2 employees. We struggle to fill upwards to 510. So we have a gap that we want to encounter. And Austin ranks number 12 amongst all U.S. major metro areas for the highest cost of living increase. So this item, again, is broken up in 3 parts. It amounts to a total of $5.3 million for the biennium. Annually, the first part is a request for $1.3 million, and that is to fund us up towards our cap. As you recall, in 2020, in response to COVID, state budgets were cut by 5%. That cut has perpetuated into this current biennium. It's there. And so this amount would recover those monies and allow us to hire up to 564.2. The second part of this is the cost of living adjustment for all staff, and that is a request of $3.3 million. And then we get into the market competition for IT staff and retention, and that is merely $683,000 that we're asking to ensure their retention with us.
And I think that's a big part. I'm sorry, Mike Harris, Executive Director. I think that's a big part of also, on the agency standpoint, to have a mind shift of the recruitment of some of our employees and to new future team members. Because even with just a 10% increase that we're asking for, that still gets us closer, but doesn't really make us competitive just yet.
Sure.
So I think that one of the discussions that we've had is the possibly looking outside the Austin area and identifying positions throughout the agency that maybe we can be able to recruit from and gather employees from El Paso to Marshall, from Perryton down to Brownsville, that can still work for TDLR, because the cost of living are much less in those particular areas as it would be in this area, but we can really just kind of throw the net out a little bit more. We've started doing this with some of our other divisions, customer service and with IT, of doing statewide postings. So I think that the commission could probably see that more coming down the pipe of trying to recruit team members into the TDLR.
Sure.
By casting out a statewide net.
So what Emmett was talking about a second ago, everything was paper driven before COVID, and now everything's technologically driven. I think that kind of begs the question, right? What does our future workforce look like, and where are they going to be? If costs are going up so much in Austin, maybe we need to look outside of Austin to start filling some of those gaps. And with the COVID workforce, people are used to it. So maybe you're onto something there, Mike. I think something we need to look at seriously.
Yeah, we've had that discussion internally with the executive team. And of course, we have so much going on right now that, we haven't had a real serious discussion on it, but I think we're kind of moving that direction, that we're gonna have to really start thinking outside the box and shift our mindset of what we have done in the past. Because, as we've had this discussion before, when we say, well, that's what we've always done, it's not a good enough answer. So.
Good stuff.
Sure, and those conversations have started at the legislature this summer on what does the future of the state workforce look like, right? Even years ago, about 15 years ago, they were talking about perhaps relocating agency headquarters outside of Austin, right?
Yeah.
But back then, we were in a very brick and mortar mentality, and here we are, thanks to COVID, the whole world's been thrown into a virtual reality, right? And so that reconciliation is coming up, and they've started that at the committee level at the legislature. So this overall, LAR is trying to account for many things and adjusting to what the legislature is going to have to deal with. Okay.
And commissioners, I just wanted to add one more thought. This exceptional item is continuing a theme that we started in our strategic plan, where we talked about all of these issues, not just related to recruiting new people to come work for us, but also retaining the people we already have, who have been very loyal to the organization and who have worked very hard and who have really been the ones who have made us a success. It's important for our employees to see us asking for this. And this is not unique to TDLR. A whole lot of state agencies are feeling the same pressure that we are to hold on to the people that have made us successful. So this to me is sort of a commitment to our folks as well, to stand up and say, hey, they're worth more.
Great point.
All right. This is Commissioner Collier. Thanks, Kaiser, for mentioning about the retention. I guess my question there, we've talked about the IT, challenges with the IT staff, and what have we been seeing tied to the general counsel and prosecutors? Because that would be another area that would be a significant hit.
So I can tell you that in my divisions, we are seeing, in the last couple of years, we have lost quite a few key people in manager positions to retirement. And I'm not sure that salary is the only thing that was a motivating factor there, but I think it was definitely one of them. And it is getting more difficult to fill some positions as well. We have more vacancies. I think at this point we have more vacancies posted than we ever have in my time with the agency, because some of them we just can't get filled. And then certain positions are like entry gate positions. We hire people, but then they immediately proliferate up. They promote up to higher paying positions in the agency, which is a great thing. But that's really hard for that entry level position where you have work that needs to be done in those positions. And if you have a constant churn of people, that work seems to be always behind. I can't really say that I'm as acquainted with general counsel side of the house. If Brad's in the meeting, he might be able to speak to that.
Sure, Mr. Chairman, it's Brad Bowman, General Counsel. We have had some struggles as well. We have two vacant positions in our attorney ranks right now. And I can't say that those are necessarily because of salary, but we've had a little more turnover recently than we've had. We've had a very stable group of attorneys for a long time, and we've had some more turnover recently. We had a attorney position posted recently, and we didn't get very many applicants for that position. We were able to find a really good person for it out of the applications we did have, but that's been a change that we've seen as well, just not as many people applying for the positions at the salary levels that we're posting them at. That's been kind of our experience.
Okay. Thank you, Brad.
Yeah. Thanks, Brad. Thanks, Kaiser.
So the next
Mr. Chairman, hey, this is Commissioner Callis. I think exceptional item 2 is one of the most important things out of all these exceptional items. The reason why I say that is because it's not only affecting the sector of state agencies, it's affecting the sector of all kind of businesses. If you cannot, just in Business 101, if you can't maintain a competitive value for your job is not going to be competitive. Why would someone stay at that job? I will tell you also, I think coronavirus has made it worse due to the fact that you don't need to be in a brick and mortar building in order for you to maintain work ethics with that organization or that state agency. The other thing I'll tell you is that just coming from and listening to people around Austin, since I'm there all the time, is that most people don't even own a home in Austin. Most people are renting. And when rent's going up 30 to 40%, it's unsustainable. So they have to look elsewhere. But also, too, as you get higher levels in the professional careers, like the IT, the attorneys, the executive directors, you have so many people playing in that market for so limited amount of space and people. If you don't maintain competitive value, you're going to continue to lose people. And so I think that this is something that we got to really be strong voiced about, because state agencies usually are not paid as well as private sector jobs. Let's be honest. But if you cannot maintain a strong competitive value, then I think the ones that are going to suffer are the state of Texas and also our licensees. So with that, that's just my 2 cents. I mean, I'm dealing with this on many different sectors. I was telling the work group last night that we're about a $1.2 billion company that I sit on from a medical liability standpoint. We have a dang good competitive market for the IT people, but we get bought out all the time because you got Silicon Valley coming into Austin with Tesla, Samsung, microchips. I mean, you can name it, it's coming. And even if we are very competitive for the Texas market, the California IT market that's coming in here, we weren't competitive. So I'm just saying it's something that I want to continue to echo, and thank you for listening to me rant for about 5 seconds. But this is one of the most important things, in my opinion, from an exceptional item.
I always like to listen to you rant. Since you started shaving your head, you're one of the better looking commission members. I can just stare at you forever. Thank you.
You're not getting any cookies, Chairman Butler. Thank you.
I stayed at the DoubleTree. I got 2 cookies in my suitcase. Emmett, please continue.
All right, sir. Thank you. Chairman Butler, members, one correction. I said exceptional item number 2 was 5.3 million. That's for an annual request. It's 10.7 million for the biennium. So I apologize for that. Moving on to exceptional item 3, combat financial fraud in Texas. So we are now on page 7 of the administrator's statement. That's attachment number 5, towards the bottom. We are requesting for the biennium on this item $5.2 million. As you know, we inherited the motor fuel metering and quality program from the Department of Agriculture from the 86th session. From the 87th session, we had launched the Financial Crimes Intelligence Center in Tyler, Texas, in Smith County. That is a collaborative effort between TDLR, the Smith County DA's office. They were given a budget for this current biennium, and now we are requesting the continuance of that budget with a few more upgrades. What this dollar amount does is that it establishes a forensics crime lab in the FCIC to assist local law enforcement and prosecution of financial fraud. It provides for additional funding, and the FCIC is not limited just to fraud related to gas pumps and skimmers. It's payment card fraud, so they are expanding in their responsiveness to that crime. It's also there to requesting funds to renovate the current facility. They operate out of an old fire station in downtown Tyler. At this point, it continues software subscription, so no irony there. They need technology to fight payment fraud, and also to provide them with necessary equipment, including body armor, surveillance equipment for their investigations throughout the state. They deal with some pretty high-level criminal activity with international gangs, and so that portion is needed to help them protect themselves to serve us. Mike, do you have any Anything else to add for that?
No, I think that with the impact that they are having on a statewide basis of diverting card fraud or averting card fraud, meeting we had yesterday with Senator Johnson, in discussion of that, he was impressed that they were able to avert more than 3 times their budget in such a short amount of time. And he said, so the sky's going to be the limit with them doing that. He said, it makes sense that we want to be able to create that forensics lab in order to ensure that those things are being handled properly in a rapid amount of time. So we're getting some great feedback. I think that as they begin to start delving out and providing more education along the law enforcement world, that their numbers are just going to continue to grow. And so I think it was a brilliant idea to be able to create this financial crime intelligence center to be able to assist in that. I think that this is just going to be one way that we can, again, continue to have our fingerprints in what's going on in the state of Texas.
Thank you, Mike.
And this was given to the Attorney General's office to stand up. They had went through the budget cuts as well, and that fell by the wayside due to their 5% reduction. So at TDLR, we were able to get that started in September 1 of this year. And Jessica Escobar is here. Done a fine job with this program and assisting the FCIC in Tyler. It's a fine folks of individuals out east. Right. Members, any questions about FCIC? No? Okay. Moving on now to the bottom of page 8, exceptional item 4, combat human trafficking from regulated industries. This amounts to a biennial total of $2.6 million. What's different now with the other items up to this point is that this one requests 14 additional FTEs. So this would grow our agency by 14 staff. Again, no surprise, human trafficking is horrible. It's a global scourge, and it's that much the same in Texas. There is no abatement to it. The fight is ongoing. There were several hearings over the summer before multiple committees, before the Senate and the House on human trafficking. TDLR, as you know, is a member of a human trafficking task force. We partner with various state and federal and private agencies, namely the Attorney General's office, local law enforcement throughout the state to fight human trafficking. We have been asked to ask for additional funds to increase our responsiveness to this problem. So we are requesting 14 employees, 3 program specialists, and 1 administrative assistant in our anti-trafficking unit, which is managed by Mary Winston. But even outside of our ATU, we have enforcement staff, we have licensing staff, various places throughout the agency that respond to anti-trafficking. So we're also asking for 1 prosecutor and 1 investigator in the enforcement division to prosecute cases, 6 inspectors in field inspections, another division that deals with anti-trafficking efforts. They are doing routine inspections. They see something, they say something, they report that to our ATU. Our ATU works with field enforcement, general counsel, law enforcement partners. So we're needing additional eyes and ears and staffing in field inspections. And we can't have all this increase in FTEs without there being a back end need for an accountant and a part-time assistant general counsel to assist with the overhead and the management and the indirect activities to support those functions. And then lastly, this request involves asking for a data analyst to do a deep dive. We sit on a lot of data, not just in our licensing system, but Mary's ATU unit and the Attorney General as well. There's a lot that has yet to be sifted, so we are asking for an analyst to go through that. So again, that is our total request, 2.6 million and 14 staff for anti-trafficking, which again is broader than just our anti-trafficking unit. It's responsive throughout all functional areas of the agency.
So I can tell you, Tom Butler, Commissioner, I can tell you that Texas has done a great job in this realm, human trafficking and child sex exploitation. to the extent that other states are looking to what we've done. So anything that we can do to keep our foot on the gas in this realm, I think is going to reap great dividends. I don't want to get too far afield into this because it's so important. So anyway, thank you for that. That's anything that we can do to help. In this endeavor.
Commissioner Butler, this is Commissioner Callis again. I was very vocal about this yesterday as well on our work group. Two things. One is that sexual and human trafficking is still abysmal. I can tell you we deal with this all the time as a physician leader in the state, talking with DEA, talking with DPS, talking with the governor's office. That thank you for making this an exceptional item as well. I also believe too, it's not only the human and sexual trafficking that's being exploited, but also the labor exploitation, where we're getting non-licensees, electrician, HVAC workers that are doing jobs that should be protected by TDLR, Protect Texans. Also too, the other thing I want to bring up is like we have in the medical field, which I think would be very important in this field as well. You have whistleblower protections whenever someone thinks, sees, hears, or modifies or thinks they see something, that they're protected in order to report. I think if you have protections on the backside or the front side, however you want to think of it, then you might have more people that will stop this type of trafficking, not only from a labor standpoint, but also from a human and sexual exploitation. So that was my request, if we can look and see about whistleblower protections in order to try to promote more people to talk about it and stop this egregious behavior.
I think that's a fantastic idea, Dr. Callis. Fantastic idea.
Vice Chairman Butler, Mike Harrisman, Executive Director. We have Mary Winston in the room now. Can answer any questions that you might have, but I can tell you in conversations that we've had with legislators, we were asked to go really hard at this, to get aggressive in this endeavor. So again, conversations that we've had, when we told them we're looking at 12 FTEs across the board throughout the agency, they're asking, say, is that enough? Do you need more? And we had an exercise that we went through here internally. I think we got up to about 64 FTEs. So we had to start calling that back. And we've mentioned that to the legislators. They're like, well, I understand that, but if you need the manpower, you need the FTEs, you need to ask for it. So I think it's going to be a big push in the legislature again this coming session. And we'll be right in the middle of it as well. And so I think with what we've done and the work that Mary and her crew has done, it has really put us in the forefront, and we are kind of the go-to agency in helping to combat human trafficking along with the Attorney General's office.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, before Mary speaks, and welcome to the meeting, Mary. This is Commissioner Collier. Clearly echo Dr. Callis's comments. We did talk about the human trafficking extensively yesterday evening time frame. And, my particular comment was along the lines, I know that there's, monies for border securities, type efforts. There is connectivity, right? And what we're doing that's aligned with that. And so I think it may be a worthwhile exercise to say, are there any possible funds, nuggets, crumbs coming off the table that could be pushed towards this way to be able to grab maybe in the future, time frame, because there is connectivity. When you have improvements around the border, we know that the positive impacts that's going to have on this side and what we do.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioners, for all your comments. Mike, Emmett, you want to continue?
Yes, sir. And Commissioner Collier raised an interesting point on the border funding. At the Summer Licensing and Administrative Procedure Committee hearing, Chairwoman Thompson raised that very question on, telling us ask for additional resources, and then if we were tapped into the Lone Star border security funding. We are not, but we've had that conversation. And so Commissioner Collier, that will be continued on a source of funding. And again, I want to thank our GR staff, Jeff and Julie, for spending a very hard month and a half since the request came out from the legislature on increasing funding. They had to pull a lot of people together, and they were able to reduce this down from about 54 staff we're asking to down to 14. So this is a responsible ask, but it's a responsive one as well. Okay, good. Okay, members, moving on, we are now getting up to exceptional item 5. That will be page 9 of the administrative statement. Yes, ma'am.
And Hemant, this is Commissioner Cowyer. I know that Mike mentioned that Mary was in the room, so I didn't know if you wanted to take time to see if she had any comments.
Am I mic'd from here, Emmett?
Sorry?
Am I mic'd from
You
here?
are.
So, yes, thank you, Commissioner Cowley. Thank you, all of the commissioners. Commissioner Callis, thank you so much for your comments, particularly pertaining to labor trafficking as well as sex trafficking, because all sex trafficking is labor trafficking. However, we have discovered that within our work, as well as work with our RPM partners and our partners in our field inspections team, that we do have labor trafficking that exists, sometimes absent that sex trafficking angle. That's something else that we're trained, that we look at, that is an issue in several of the programs that we regulate. So as we move forward with this LAR and into the next session, we want to make sure that we're doing just what you guys are saying we should do, make the focus to fight trafficking within our regulated community. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mary.
All right, sir. Members, again, page 9, we are now at exceptional item 5, improved motorcycle operator training and safety. This is a biennial total of 1.3 million, and I'm going to immediately look at David Gonzalez to give you an explanation of this one.
Thank you, Hemant. Good morning, commissioners. I'm David Gonzalez, Deputy Executive Director of Licensing Services. Laid out before you is exceptional item number 5, relates to the Motorcycle Operator Training and Safety Program that was transferred from DPS to TDLR and 2 other entities besides us, the Texas A&M Engineering Extension Service and the Texas Transportation Institute also share some responsibility. TDLR has responsibility for the overall licensing administration and the enforcement aspects. TEACS is responsible for administering the training for the motorcycle safety instructors, and TTI is responsible for the research, education, and advocacy. So all 3 of these entities have been working together to fulfill the duties to the best of our abilities and with the funding available. But the program's proven pretty difficult. We've had some challenges along the way, and without some clear statutory and fiscal direction, I think we're going to continue to have those struggles, and that's not fair to what we're trying to accomplish. So before you, and absent any statutory amendments that'll change our roles, TDLR is requesting an additional appropriation of $680,000 over the biennium and changes to Rider 10 to provide designated funding for the research, advocacy, and education, separate for TTI. That's their amount. An additional appropriation of $622,000 over the biennium, specifically for TEACS to administer the program for motorcycle safety instructors. And what this does is, because the money would come through us, it's through our LAR, it will delineate the funding that TDLR receives to administer the program from the funding intended to improve research and training that currently isn't designated that way. So ultimately, to improve training, we're hoping to reduce those numbers in serious and fatal accidents. And we know that this is a big part of it, but we need that fiscal help in order to get it done.
Wonderful. Thank you, David. Thank you.
David, hey, it's Commissioner Callis. I have a question for you, because that last statement really eats away at me, especially as a trauma anesthesiologist, and also looking at multiple fatal and serious accidents that I see all the time. And it's all based on motorcycles that I'm talking about. It has nothing to do with MVAs, not drinking and driving a motorcycle. I'm talking about safety from wearing a helmet and wearing appropriate clothing. Are we ever going to really attack that? Because I'm telling you, traumatic brain injuries and severe deaths are caused by not appropriate utilization of safety equipment. And I know that I see more motorcycle riders without helmets or without any type of quote unquote body armor that protects from falls and injuries. So I just wanted to bring that up, because I feel I wouldn't be doing a service if I didn't bring it up as looking at all these injuries because of failed non-use of safety equipment.
So Commissioner Callis, David Gonzalez, TDLR, we are not charged with that responsibility, but on the TTI side for research and advocacy, I think there's opportunity perhaps there. I can tell you that our analyst, one of our analysts, has done some of the run of the numbers, And it's surprising to see the statistics, what they show in regards to who's involved in these serious and fatal accidents. Actually, the ones that have an M-class license, a motorcycle license, the numbers are lower for them. It's actually people that have other types of licenses, people that don't have licenses at all, that stack the deck on who's having these accidents. But to your point, helmets would probably help a whole bunch in that whole realm. That's not something that's attached to this particular statute and may need to be taken up a different way.
Well, thank you. I was just bringing it up because I feel like if I mean, I'm the one that's in the operating room. I'm the one that trauma bays. When I see these people come in, just one simple helmet saves people's lives. That's all I'm trying to say. And I know we're not that type of regulatory body, but I'd like to get TTI or TEX to definitely look into that, because I'm telling you, it's something. That's why we promoted hard hats for little kids, and it's little helmets, even when bicycle helmets when they ride, it saved people's lives. So, and they're not going 80, 90 miles an hour either. So it's just something that I just wanted to bring up, and thank you.
Understood.
Thank you for that point, Commissioner Collins. And that's what's great about this body, is that so many different perspectives and experiences are brought to so many of these discussions that maybe that will help save a life down the road. And it's something that we can explore. Emmett, please.
All right, sir. Thank you. Members, moving on to exceptional item 6, which will be the top of page 10. This one relates to replacing our aging fleet vehicles. During the 86 session and last session, we inherited vehicles from the Department of Agriculture and the Department of Public Safety, 20 vehicles. 12 of those need to be replaced. Mike was kicking the tires at the warehouse the other day and noticed none of them have brakes and they're in very poor shape. So we're needing to replace this. This is a standard request. It's non-controversial. It's core administrative business. And so it puts us on schedule. Great work by our fleet manager, Lauren Smith, in putting this request together. So we are asking for a total of $440,000 to replace vehicles.
Vice Chairman Butler, it's Mike Tremendous. Commissioner, the other thing that I'm sure, just kind of a refresher, we did receive some appropriated monies to look at vehicles for this biennium. And I can tell you that we've expended zero. A lot of it's because of the supply chain issues that we're currently having to be able to get vehicles, into the marketplace. So I think next year you may see a flurry. If they can get a supply chain, we can get a supply available to us of looking at either purchase or leasing vehicles. I think we've decided to kind of settle for the purchasing route. This would be a supplemental portion of it in order to continue to do that. We're of the opinion, and I think we had a study that we did years and years ago, but we've spent a lot of money on travel reimbursement, and it would be a less costly initiative on our part by actually purchasing vehicles to assign to employees, which would reduce our reimbursement amount to employees. But overall, it's a cost savings, which now allows us to be able to use some of that money to be able to put in other places that we may need to. And so it's just kind of a shifting of the monies, but it'll supply what we need. Vehicles we have right now, as I mentioned the other day, is that, the brakes don't work. And I'm going to be a little facetious, but we have vehicles that are over 10 years old that have surpassed the mileage that we're being told to look for from, you're talking about the fleet management side. And so we have probably, I would venture a guess of at least 80% of our vehicles are past that age that they need to be surplus. Mm-hmm. So this is just a matter of putting back in what we need for the agency.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mike, this is Commissioner Collier. With the condition of those vehicles, what's been the impact of serving customers as obviously, vehicles right. You would have to either push or pull?
And I think we have some vehicles that are assigned to some field inspectors, investigators, and they continue to function in their job. But I can tell you that we've had issues of vehicles breaking down that we have to figure out how we can go, as an example, over to East Texas to get the broken down vehicle, bring it back, get a trailer, supply them with another vehicle. In the event that they're not able to use a vehicle at that time, they may simply revert back to a personal vehicle and seek reimbursement until they can get a replacement vehicle on our part. So the work continues. It just becomes very cumbersome for the team member as they begin to shift from either the agency assigned vehicle to a personal and then come back to the agency assigned vehicle.
I appreciate it. And then what year would those be? Would it be depreciated off the books, or how is that handled?
There is a schedule, and I think him and Brandy probably know better than I do. There's a schedule by which we have to follow.
Okay. All right. Super. Thanks.
Thank you, commissioners. Is everybody doing okay? Does anybody need a break, or everybody's okay? Rick told me this meeting would take about 30 minutes.
Yes, sir.
Please, Emmett, continue.
Thank you, and sorry about that. We're almost done.
Your fault.
All right.
I've got to say a word to my buddy Rick.
Yes, sir. Okay, members, we are still on page 10, and last but not least is exceptional item 7, funding authority for the mold program inspections. Again, for the biennium, this amounts to $506,000. Again, we're moving in descending order here, and this has an FTE increase of 3.0. I will hand this one off to Christina, who can give you a very nice, beautiful, dense description on this request.
Good morning again, Commissioners. Christina Kaiser. So we assumed responsibility for the mold program when we received a handful of programs from DSHS in 2017. And when we first took it on, we felt ill-equipped to handle these inspections because they are very technical in nature. And so we contracted with DSHS to get them to continue conducting the inspections on our behalf. And we've just kind of marched along in that posture for a couple of years. There was some expectation that the program might be moved to another agency, perhaps back to DSHS, perhaps back somewhere else, but that didn't materialize. And so we are now in the position that DSHS is no longer willing to continue doing the inspections for us. And so we're going to have to sort of incorporate the program into our world in a way that we really didn't do at the beginning. So we are exploring right now the possibility of contracting out to some third parties to conduct these inspections for us. If that doesn't work out, then the backup plan will be to hire some FTEs, 3 to be exact, to be on our staff who would conduct these inspections on behalf of the agency. So those are the 2 alternative uses of this money that's being requested in this exceptional item. First use would be to pay for the third parties if that works well. Failing that, we would hire the FTEs.
Hey, this is Chairman Callis. I was talking a lot about this with Commissioner Collier and with Commissioner Wesson yesterday. There's many problems with this, and I'm going to begin first with is that mold litigation is some of the strongest and most profitable litigation that happens during an economic impact of like a hurricane, a flood, or something that requires water penetration into homes, businesses, and other structures. With that being said, you also do not have an authority on someone that creates the standard on what the standard should be related to mold investigations. So if we're going to go down a path and we're going to use subcommittees or an advisory board, I highly recommend that we vet these people so you look and see what their conflict of interests are, and you look and see to make sure that we're doing something that we can standardize in order to make it safe and make it effective. The other thing I will tell you, this is not going to go away. Some of you that live north of the Gulf Coast, I know you can still have flooding or you can still have water damage, but usually in the high impact areas are the ones that end up with hurricanes or with severe major flooding. And we have to make sure that we get appropriate inspections and appropriate standardizations so that way we are not harming Texans. So that's my 2 cents. And I know this is a big ask. I know I don't think anybody wants it. We just happen to have it in our lap, but we need to try to do the best thing we can in order to maintain the safety of Texans and also the integrity of people whenever they put up money to buy homes or start businesses. And, I mean, it has to be an inspector that is willing to understand it, and also has to be a standard that we will all agree with. So thank you very much.
I'll second that with Commissioner Callis, because I've gone through it. I lived in Corpus for years and did a remediation early 2000s. Then I had a repair water damage from Hurricane Harvey, and there seems to be no real standard. And I think some of the public comments we got, I think at a few meetings before, when we got this program passed over to us, that those in the industry, I think we need to make sure that we're staying on whatever the top scientific evidence that we've got at the moment. But I think it's probably like some of the healthcare, it's a moving target sometimes. But I agree with whoever we get on advisory. We've got to make sure there's no conflicts of interest, and they're all following the same rules, because it was kind of a joke, honestly, back in the early 2000s. Everybody could get a different inspector to come in, and they'd come up with a different program, a different cost, and it was sad for the homeowner.
Thank you, Dr. Callis, Dr. Weston. I appreciate your comments. They're thoughtful, and I think something that we need to consider seriously as we start vetting these.
Yeah, and this is a Commissioner Collier, Mr. Chairman, for you proceed on, just on the back end of Dr. Callis and Dr. Weston in regards to the mold, obviously being in mold country as well, and I see it quite often in the business that I'm in. I do want to note that the work that Christina has done with the mold, through the mold summits, I believe there's a sentiment there and a commitment to be, going in the right direction. And I believe that we'll be addressing, some of the comments that you've just mentioned, Dr. Callis and Dr. Weston, to minimizing and mitigating, right? Minimizing and mitigating. I also think that the processes and protocols that the agency has in place for advisory boards is a rigorous one, and we should be able to minimize any other concerns that you mentioned. So, but I see it in my business, and I of course I'm in mold country, so I know fairly well. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
And Commissioners, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, just one more point. On the strategic plan side, you might recall that one of the initiatives we hope to see in the next legislative session is the creation of an advisory board for this program. And that would help a lot with our ability to incorporate it into the TDLR model of regulation. And I think it would help also with some of those concerns about, the standards not really being solid and together. So fingers crossed on that front.
I'm going to say one last comment, and I think Dr. Weston would agree. Coming from Galveston, Texas, and Beaumont, Texas, I've had to deal with this too. What my biggest concern is, and I want Michael to hear this from me, is that when you need a mold inspector, you're going to need more than 3 during a disaster. And you cannot delay, because the longer you delay, the more you ruin your structure. So I'm just going to let you know that we need to be very forward thinking, that God forbid we end up with a bad disaster because of this high temperature this year, but you never know. But we have to be nimble and quick, because every day that you don't get your house inspected, you can't do anything until it gets inspected, and you're ruining that structure. So I just want to bring that up too. So we might have to think about vendoring out third parties that we respect and trust, but make sure the standards are still the same. Thank you.
Okay. Good stuff moving forward.
All right, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Members, we're wrapping up on the administrator's statement. Then we're going to have Tony cover riders. Brandy will do an update on our hub reporting schedule, and then we'll be done. But to close out the administrator's statement, our GR team, moving on to page 11, they put together 4 graphics. We're allowed to do that with our LAR to support our statement. The first graphic shows a 31.9% increase in our licensed population. Of course, that's to support our requests for salaries and IT funding. The FCIC activity is the second figure. What you're seeing there in that chart is that this is only for the months of January through June. This group has done an amazing amount of work and a return on investment for their funding to put payment card frauds, recoveries back into the back into all consumers. And while I have an opportunity, Jessica, is there anything you would like to add about the FCIC?
I don't. I think you've covered it well. Thank you.
All right. Moving on to our third.
I do. This is Commissioner Collier. And thanks, Jessica, for your assistance and support. I understand through the meeting on yesterday that you did a yo person's job, so I appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
I was just going to comment on that slide, and I keep looking at it, and I'm just going to add. I mean, this is very technical, but I do think images are very strong when you talk to legislators. I would highly recommend that we don't put 975,000, 2.918 million, 3.32 million, 4.23. I think that the total needs to be up here and say 10.6 million total, and then how it's increased based on the delta from 975,000 the first month to the second month, to where it's looking like we're made 975 the first month, 2.9 the second month, 3.3 the third month. You understand what I'm saying? To make it clear that it's showing you an increase in delta than the total, because when you see 10.6 million, it looks like in the month of June, we got 10.6 million cumulative loss prevention in the month of June. That's, I'm just saying from a clarification of looking at the way that this chart reads.
Yes, sir. We will, Dr. Callis, we will take care of that. Thank you. Great observation. Thank you, sir. Okay, we have a table. Our last, second to last table breaks out the 9 disparate licensing systems that we have. We list the system, the name, the license type served. Commissioner Collier, we will take care of the slash between Excel and QuickBooks. We've got that covered. And then we give a description of all of our functional areas. And last but not least is our org chart that will be submitted as part of the administrator's statement. And that concludes that item. So the total requests for all exceptional items combined for the biennium amount to $53.7 million, an increase of 17 FTEs. And as Brandy noted, our biennial request, should this be approved, our biennial budget, should this be approved, goes from 88.7 million to 142.4 million, and 500 from 564.2 staff to 581.2. That's where we are. Again, it's only the beginning. It's at least going to be a conversation starter. And Mike, David, and Christina have been having those conversations across the street, and this will carry on into next session. Okay. If there are no questions, I'll move on with Tony to give you an update on riders, and then Brandy to close out with the hub report.
Thank you, Hannah. I appreciate it.
Sir.
You ready for it, Tom?
I think so. Good morning, Chair Butler. Good morning, Commissioners. Good to see you all again. I'm going to give a brief overview of the requested changes that we have for our riders in our bill pattern. Riders are little sets of special instructions to us on how to be appropriated money, how to spend the money, and other tasks that the legislature wants us to do. A few of the requested rider changes are just updating the years from last year's LAR to this year. I'm sorry, last session's LAR to this year's LAR, so I won't go over those. So the first one that's of substance is with our combative sports rider. There is a rider that says if we hold a mega event, which is an event that has more than $2 million in ticket sales, we are appropriated $30,000 if there's that much in ticket sales and we exceed our threshold of revenue in that program for the year. What ends up happening is we'll have mega events, say in the fall or winter, where we expend a lot of money working the event, and then we have to wait until we cross the threshold in revenue before we can be awarded that money. Usually that's like in July or August, and so it really puts us in a bind trying to spend that money before the end of the fiscal year. So we're just asking that the threshold be removed, and that way we can be awarded the money closer in time to the events when we expend the money.
Hey, this is Commissioner Callis again. Since I'm very involved in this combative sports arena, I will tell you that this is a great rider to remove, because I will tell you, since I've been on the commission and since I've been getting involved, we've gone from a couple events to now we're bringing big time mega events to the state of Texas, including four to six this year alone, just in the UFC realm. I think as we continue to work with our partners in the boxing world and then the mixed martial art world to where the money is really coming in, I think the rider definitely needs to be removed. So thank you.
Yep. And this is Commissioner Collier. In the subgroup meeting on yesterday, you mentioned 35,000.
Yeah, I misspoke. I think it's 30,000. It's 30. Apologies, Commissioner.
Thank you, Tony.
Sure. The next one that we have that's I wanted to mention here is changes to the rider that authorizes us to give reimbursement to advisory boards. We've just updated it to remove advisory boards that have been repealed and to add advisory boards that have been added. And we're also adding a mold advisory board in there just in case the legislation passes, and so it'll already be in our bill pattern. Next is human trafficking. Other than updating it to include the amounts that we are asking for in appropriations and FTEs, we are also asking that it not be subject to a requirement that we have that all expenses that we have must be covered by revenue that we bring in. So if we don't get this exception, then everything that we're asking for extra in human trafficking, in our human trafficking efforts, will have to be paid for by our licensees in the massage and barbering and cosmetology. Massage therapy and barbering and cosmetology programs. So since human trafficking is more of a effort of the state and it benefits the state as a whole, we're just asking that these licensees not be required to pay for all of this human trafficking efforts that we're doing. And it's also, the rider's also being amended to expand our efforts from just the anti-trafficking unit to more of the agency, since we're asking for folks in other divisions to help us in our efforts. On the financial crimes rider, last session, it was a contingency rider, which basically said if House Bill 2106 passes, creating the Financial Crimes Intelligence Center, then you get this money. We're changing it to this is how we're going to spend the money. And last is the Motorcycle Operator Safety and Training Program. What David was talking about, designating the money that's supposed to go to Texas A&M Engineering Extension Service and Texas Transportation Institute. The rider will say, definitely, they get this money and they get this money, and TDLR, you get this money. So there's no confusion about who gets what. And I'm happy for questions.
Are there any questions for Tony from the commission? No. Anything else you'd like us to note?
No, sir.
Thank you so much. You've done a great job, Tony.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chairman.
All right, sir, thank you. And we will wrap up with Brandy giving an overview of our hub report, and that will be attachment number 7. And we will note one correction. Commissioner Collier called out yesterday.
All right, so our hub report, we show the expenditures for fiscal year 20 and fiscal year 21 in the respective categories. And overall, our hub percentages were pretty good. We have a 31.2 actual hub spend in fiscal year 2020, and the state's amount at that point was Well, we were 19.7% over that. So we had some great hub spend in fiscal year 20, and in fiscal year 21, our hub spend was 34.2%, which was about 23% over the statewide total for that year. So we're doing well in our hub areas. There is a negative 6.2% on there that I want to point out, and that is the difference between what our goal was and what we actually brought in. But when you look at what our percentage goal was of 47.2%, the statewide hub goal for that area was 21.1%. So we shot for the moon and we landed among the stars on that one. So not too bad. And so then the rest of the report just talks about attainment, applicability, and the things that are impacting that. And then it goes on to talk about our staffing, our mentor protege efforts, and our good faith efforts that we continue to do to increase and obtain more hub vendors for our agency's business. I will point out that we have added the mentor protege agreements that we have in place. We did have one in 2020 and we added another one in 2022. Commissioner Collier, as requested, that has been added to the report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions for Brandy?
This is Commissioner Collier. Thanks, Brandy, for putting that bullet in. As noted, there are agencies out there which much larger budgets than ours, and those guys do not have any existing mentor protege programs or relationships, nor are they meeting their hub numbers. So I celebrate you and the team for your commitment and the whole full agency, and thanks for the update there. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brandy. Emmett?
All right, sir.
Back to you.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, members, this concludes our presentation on our LAR. I just would like to call out as a supplement, attachment number 8 is a state employee pay raise history. It's got some interesting numbers for you, and it relates back to exceptional item number 2. But that's all that we have, and we thank you for your time and your attention.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Collins.
If it's okay for a motion, I move that we approve TDLR's legislative appropriations request for fiscal years 24 and 25 as presented by staff, and authorize staff to submit all corresponding schedules and data and to make any non-substantiative technical or grammatical changes.
That's fantastic.
Second, Commissioner Collier.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. I did want to recognize Dr. Wesson, the work group chair. Dr. Wesson, is there anything you'd like to say before we?
I just want to congratulate and commend the staff on how quick they were able to put this together, the detail and the way it was presented. I think we all appreciate every person that helped that, and thank them again. Thank the commissioners for their time on Commissioner Callis and Commissioner Collier for being, we got to hear this twice, so we got to go through and hear it again today, and fantastic job. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Wesson, for your leadership. I'm assuming that at midnight on the 29th, we'll get a text.
Yeah. I had to change the time on my phone when it turned off.
Okay. All right. I know Dr. Callis will be up, but she doesn't.
Hey, folks, I would just like to say hi to Lori. I'm seeing you, and congratulations. This is Nora. You're on mute.
Thank you again. Thanks very much. Glad to be here.
Do we want to take a vote?
Hey, Chairman, I would just recommend a roll call vote since it's such an important vote, please, sir.
Sure, be happy to do that. So we do have a motion and we have a second. I'd like to call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. And Christine, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, sir. Vice Chair Tom Butler.
Aye.
Dr. Ray Callis.
Aye.
Commissioner Helen Collier.
Aye.
Commissioner Nora Castañeda.
Aye.
Dr. Gary Wesson.
Aye.
Commissioner Lori High.
Aye.
Chairman Figueroa is out. You have a motion passed.
Wonderful. Just quick point. Thank you all so much for working on this. It's obvious that the legislature wanted this off their plate before the holiday, or July 4th holiday, so it became your problem for July 4th. You called out Jeff and Julie a couple of times, I think 3 or 4 times during your presentation. Thank you. And this is our opportunity to say thank you to everybody that had a hand in this. I don't know how we express our gratitude other than to say thank you. So those that are listening within the department, I know y'all probably hear this, but it really is heartfelt. We appreciate the work that y'all do to get these things to us in a quick way so that we can deal with them and then they can go to the legislature. And thank you to the work group for working on this. Y'all turn this around in very short order. And so I, on behalf of the chairman, Figueroa, I'd like to say thank you for all that you do. I think that's it. We've taken the votes. Commission, is there anything you'd like to say before we end the meeting?
I just want to let all the commissioners know that I'm working on my schedule to hopefully be able to attend the next commission meeting. Please, Christina or Mike, make sure we have a quorum. August during that time is one of the hardest time during us. We're so dang busy, but I'm just letting you know that I'm trying to make it, but I just want to go on record and letting you know that I hope if you have a quorum, please let me know so it puts less stress on me trying to get coverage for me to be there.
Sure.
Yes, sir, we will.
Okay. Well, commissioners, that's all. I'd appreciate you not letting Rick know how great this meeting went. I don't want him to feel bad when he comes back. Thank you so much for being here. I will not be at the next meeting. I will be on vacation. So I look forward to seeing y'all soon thereafter. With that, thank you, everybody.
Okay, super. Thanks a bunch.
Bye-bye.
Take care.